2002's Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist Soul is the fourth Yu-Gi-Oh! Game I'm covering on this channel, and amazingly, it's the very first that actually plays by Yu-Gi-Oh!'s rules. And therein lies the appeal of this game specifically. A lot of other Yu-Gi-Oh! GBA games attempt to either streamline Yu-Gi-Oh!'s mechanics, like Sacred Cards, or an entirely different experience, like Dungeon Dice Monsters. A pure Yu-Gi-Oh! Experience is in store for you if you choose to dig this one out. Here's how it works. The primary mode here is a campaign that structures itself as a duel tournament. At any given time, you will be given a selection of duelists to face off against, each with their own different styles of deck. Beat each duelist enough times to unlock a higher tier of tougher duelists, where you can do the same thing. Repeat this until you've unlocked all of the opponents and you can consider the campaign won. Talking to them will give you some dialogue and thrust you right into a duel. If you know the rules of Yu-Gi-Oh!, you'll be right at home here. Each player alternates taking turns and playing cards until they can whittle down their opponent's life points. Each player's turn is broken down into a few different phases. Draw phase, where you draw your cards, main phase, where you play your cards, battle phase, where you direct your cards to battle your opponent, and so on. There are over 800 cards to choose from, including regular monsters, effect monsters, traps, spells, and a few other types. This is Yu-Gi-Oh!, which in hindsight seems like it's a weird point to keep emphasizing, but if we're only counting games that made it out of Japan, then this is the first game to be truly that. It's real, actual Yu-Gi-Oh! In video game format. Portable, no less. You spend a lot of time looking at a screen like this. It's your battle screen, which predominantly features the cards in play, as well as the cards in your hand. It's a UI that serves its purpose as well as it can. Being on the GBA, this game is on a serious budget when it comes to both screen space and buttons. This is probably why a lot of prior Yu-Gi-Oh! Games never attempted to port Yu-Gi-Oh!'s actual rules. The intricacies that come with text-heavy cards don't always translate to a really smooth play experience on a screen so small, and that's definitely true here. When any card with an effect of some sort activates, whether that be a spell or a monster with an ability, their card art will flash in front of you on screen to show that an ability is being triggered. But you can't see the card's text or effect here. This means you have to know what the card does ahead of time, or check to see what happened after the effect has occurred. All of the information you need is available within the duel. It just might be a few button presses away and a few seconds after you would have wanted it. A few hours in, you'll probably have a majority of the common effects you run across memorized, so it's an issue that becomes less and less prevalent as you spend more time dueling. Whenever you beat an enemy, you are prompted to select a pack of cards. Each pack contains 5 random cards from within a given pool. As you beat more and more duelists, not only will you have opened more packs, but you will also gain access to new and better packs containing stronger cards. Your collection will get bolstered over time, and this is one aspect where Eternal Duelist Soul feels kinda like an RPG. Not only are you making the usual card game decisions of what type of card fits into my deck's style, but you're also making objective improvements to your deck over time. You start out with numerically bad cards, and slowly replace them with superior ones. It's a gradual process for sure, and some of the late game challenges definitely expect you to have cards of a certain strength in your deck before even being able to put up a real fight. Deck management is big here. When you transplant Yu-Gi-Oh!'s exact rule set into a video game and start out with bad cards, it's only natural that the game takes on this sort of RPG progression-based feel I mentioned earlier. The extra emphasis on card acquisition and building a collection makes me super glad that the interface here for deck construction is much better than any Yu-Gi-Oh! Games I've covered prior to this. There are great filtering options to narrow down your collection to specific card types, as well as sorting options to ensure that you're seeing the most relevant among them right up front. It's not perfect, there aren't any options to run just a pure keyword search for specific cards, but it definitely gets the job done in a way that's admirable. Helping frame the campaign is a calendar that gives a bit of structure to the duels. Each duel constitutes one in-game day, and certain days correspond to special events. There are usually weekly giveaways of some extra cards, as well as tournaments that allow you to play multiple duels in a row for greater reward. It's a clever way to contextualize what is essentially you just dueling people over and over and over again. It adds a bit of something to look forward to in between duels, even if it's not quite enough to break up the overall monotony. That is the bulk majority of the game. Duel some opponents, open some card packs, improve your deck, and repeat until you've had your fill. There are a few things on the fringes of this core experience that I think are worth mentioning though. The first is that the game has multiplayer support. I didn't take advantage of this because, well, I think there are more practical ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh! With a friend nowadays than finding someone with a copy of this, a Game Boy Advance, and a link cable, but it's cool that it's there. One feature that I definitely find fun is the ability to add cards to the game. Each Yu-Gi-Oh! Card has its own ID, which can be found in small print on the bottom left hand of the frame. By typing in this ID into Eternal Duelist Soul, you can actually add those cards to your in-game collection. Naturally, this was way cooler when I was a kid and didn't just look up all the IDs of all the cards online, but it's still an interesting option to transplant your real-life collection into the game, or at least some of your most vital cards. I ended up not taking advantage of this feature specifically in order to keep the difficulty curve pure. If you really wanted to circumvent the game's challenge, you could just inundate yourself with premium cards early and destroy the opposition that way, but I think that saps some of the fun out of it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Eternal Duelist Soul is really straightforward. It's a game where you collect Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and put them to battle. It doesn't break the mold or go outside the box in any ways. It is Yu-Gi-Oh! In its purest and simplest form, and that's probably its greatest strength and its greatest weakness.